coming through loud and clear. So I'd like to welcome everyone officially to WSI's Digital Power Hour series. Today's webinar is entitled Social Relationships, the Why, When, and How for B2B Marketers. My name is Cheryl Baldwin, and I'm the Director of Marketing Communication at WSI Corporate's head office in Toronto, and I'll be your host today. Now, just a couple of housekeeping items before we get started. Everyone has been muted, so if you have any questions, please type them into the question box, as we will be having a question and answer session at the end of the webinar. Now, this webinar is being recorded, and the WSI consultant or staff member that referred you to this webinar will email you the recording afterwards, so don't worry, if you've missed something, you'll be able to listen back to it. Also, feel free to tweet out about the webinar as it's happening, and be sure to use our official hashtag WSI Digital Power Hour when doing so, just so we can see those tweets. Now, in case you aren't familiar with who we are, WSI boasts the largest network of digital marketing consultants across the world. We have offices in more than 80 countries internationally and provide digital marketing solutions like website design and development, pay-per-click, search engine optimization, social media, email marketing, mobile marketing, and social relationship management, as well as social selling courses to businesses of all sizes and industries. Okay, now I'd like to introduce our speaker for today. And joining me to present and talk about social relationship management, and specifically how to leverage the social realm as a key sales channel for any business, industry, or market, is Rob Thomas, a WSI digital marketing consultant out of the South Wales of the UK. Rob has over 8 years of experience in the digital marketing industry and has taught many business workshops and spoken at many conferences on social media as well as other topics, and is actually our co-author of the social media chapter in WSI's book called Digital Minds, 12 Things Every Business Needs to Know About Digital Marketing. I know he is extremely excited to share his wisdom with you today and show you why social relationship building means so much more than tweets, hashtags, and posts. So without further ado, I'll pass it over to Rob.
Thanks very much, Cheryl. I really appreciate that. And we've got quite a lot to get through today, so I'll just crack on straight away if I can. So this is the agenda for today's Power Hour. We're going to talk about social behavior and how it impacts on the business world. We're going to have a look at some of the core challenges for marketers. And to make sure that this workshop, this seminar, online webinar is as practical as possible, we're going to deliver 3 tips for you to use if you're a business-to-business organization. You'll be able to put these into implementation straight away and start to leverage them for your business. A couple of bonus tips as well, and then we'll finish off, time permitting, with a Q&A session at the end. So that's the structure. Sit tight, here we go. The first thing is social behavior and how it's impacting on today's business world. Let me tell you, a study conducted by MIT and Capgemini recently highlighted that individuals and companies now face what they're calling a digital imperative. There's a need to adopt new technologies effectively to manage those face-to-face relationships. Why? Because it may seem dramatic, but the point is that social is crucial in today's business landscape, and only a handful of companies have really got to grips with this. We all know that in embracing new technology, it's not a new issue. In the early 90s, a similar challenge was faced as companies decided whether or not to embrace email. Many companies thought, we can't have email, the risks are way too great. I was working in financial services for a big bank at the time, and I know the audit and compliance guys were having kittens over whether they could even use email. Now, sitting here in 2014, that seems such a dumb discussion to be having, but it was. So facing new technology and working out how to embrace it is not new. Today, individuals and companies are having that similar conversation around social. There are many misconceptions about social, like it's just for the young, it's just for tech-savvy people. And it takes too much effort and it takes too much time, and it doesn't contribute to tangible goals. Yet many have embraced social for personal use at home and you know, retired people and all the rest of it. So many have embraced it for marketing in their business as well. But the real opportunity for people is leveraging the reach, the efficiency and the value of social, and how it can be a big contributor to achieving diverse business goals. So social is crucial to everyone, and we need to help more and more people in their social adoption maturity. Now, I don't know how well you can see this on your screen, but if I tell you the numbers are moving left to right, let me tell you what this is telling you. Here is today's social opportunity. We already know people, our customers, are on the internet and using social. This graph by Pew Research looked at the growth in internet users by age brackets and those who are using social networking sites. The blue lines show that people across age ranges from teens to 65 are migrating to social. So it's not just for young people. That's myth number one out of the way. The black line indicates that almost 75% of all internet users are on social. This is a huge opportunity for business. We need to be aware where our customers are and start to engage with them in those places. We need to know and be where our customers are. For example, 46% of online users rely on social media before making purchase decisions. So social has the ability to influence people and build trust around brands at a scale that is impossible to achieve solely offline. Of course, the growing challenge is that with greater levels of connectivity, how can you effectively manage your time monitoring and engaging in conversations across these social networks? Because let's face it, it's not easy. Here's a couple of more statistics to back up the assertion that engaging with your customers or potential customers through social makes sense. Here's the first one. The average internet user is spending 4.6 hours per day on social media of one sort or another. So, marketers are starting to use social. Here's another one for you. A staggering 84% of B2B marketers, that's business-to-business marketers, are using social media in one form or another themselves, LinkedIn being the biggest by far. And that's why in a few minutes I'm going to give you 3 quick tips around using LinkedIn and social selling that you can implement straight away. And using social media effectively has a 100% higher lead to close rate than unsolicited outbound marketing. After all, no one responds well to spam email or cold calls, do they? Well, I know I certainly don't. So, here's the goal for today. I want you to be able to walk away with 3 great tips on how to leverage social selling in your world, which you can implement straight away. These 3 tips, I guarantee, will drive you more business within the first couple of weeks of implementing them than if you, especially if you're in the business-to-business world. I guess in 1 hour, I can only really scratch the surface. And if you're running a business-to-consumer business, then please don't switch off, as every business has some B2B relationships, right? You've got suppliers, you've got associates, you've got partner companies. But if what we're going to talk about today resonates with you at all, you're going to want to pick up the phone to your local WSI consultant, perhaps the person who referred you to this webinar in the first place, so that you can talk to them in much more detail, and they can then in turn understand how online and social marketing is going to help you in your business, whether you're B2B, whether you're B2C, or indeed whether you're a not-for-profit organization, because social can be used very effectively, not only to increase revenue, but also to reduce costs and have a much better relationship, in fact building your reputation online. So I want to jump right in because we've got an action-packed hour and we've got a lot to go through. Let's set the scene first of all. Here's the main challenge that we're finding. Your buyers, your customers, they're always busy. And what they're doing is they're only focusing on the priorities that are right in front of them. And often they don't have a structured approach to achieving their sales goals, and sometimes neither do we. So we're probably just like our own customers, very, very busy. Some salespeople fire out emails to prospective clients and customers in the belief that this will generate interest. I would like to think I'm not guilty of that, but I'm sure I have been in the past. But when most prospects are always busy, the chances of them seeing those emails are remote. The average employee deletes 48% of all emails without even reading them. And this statistic here, the average employee receives 147 emails a day. If you're a decision maker in the business, I suggest you probably receive a hell of a lot more than that. And most of them get deleted. They might be archived or deleted. Let's put it this way, they're never read. However, on the other side of the coin, while many businesses try and connect with prospective customers via email, many are still trying to connect directly over the phone. Cold calling doesn't really work anymore. Your buyer isn't just listening to random calls that they don't necessarily think are on their priorities at that moment when you call them. Think about it. You must get cold calls every day. I do. It just doesn't seem to work anymore. What's not to say you shouldn't be talking to prospects on the phone, but there is a better way to create a warm call, or even better, incoming inquiries. After all, those are the best type of telephone conversation you can have when a prospective customer or client picks up the phone to you and asks for your help. That's way better than an outbound conversation. So that's the core challenge. There's a book called The Challenger Sale. I don't know if you've read it or not, but if you haven't, it's definitely worth a read. The Challenger Sale did a study from the CEB, and they found that nearly 60% of what they call the buyer journey was done without you or without me. In other words, without a salesperson or without somebody who might be responsible for business generation within an organization. The buyer's journey is being done without your involvement. And that's a problem. That's both a challenge and an opportunity. So for those companies and people with responsibility for sales that do get it and get it right, it definitely is an opportunity. But we have to think about our sales strategy to take that into account. And here's another big problem. The average salesperson, and as we go through this, you're going to see that we've trained hundreds, if not thousands, of salespeople over the last 2 or 3 years in the areas of social selling. Here's the core thing that I find each time I talk to them. If you have an outstanding proposal going on right now, or an outstanding demo where the prospective buyer told you that they would get back to you in a week or two, they needed to think about it, they'll let you know. Guess what? It's probably been 4 to 6 weeks and they haven't yet returned your call. This is what we call the dead zone. And a lot of people find themselves in that dead zone, and typically during this period, the old-fashioned salesperson, what do? They're going to pick up the phone, they're going to email, they're going to chase, they're going to go, hey, are you ready to go ahead or not? And think, if that's ever happened to you, and ask yourself, during that process, were you being an influencer or were you being a pest? I remember, God, many, many years ago when I was first in the area of sales and marketing, somebody told me that the best form of salesperson is persistent. Well, for me, in 2014, shorten that, instead of persistent, read pest. I don't want to be a pest, and social selling is not about being a pest, it's about being an influencer and making sure that people are aware of your authority and your reputation so that they will come to you as a trusted advisor. So let's talk about why this change, why this has happened. Well, customers have immediate access to learning. Don't forget, your customers and prospects have access to the same technology that you do. So they're constantly researching and consuming content online, just like you. They're going to go online using their smartphone, using their PC, their laptops, their tablets. They're on LinkedIn, they're on Google, they're on Pinterest. More and more time from those charts earlier on is being spent online using these social technologies. And whether you like it or not, your buyers are going to choose the most convenient suppliers to them, the ones that are filling their dead zone, not with being a pest, but by providing useful, valuable information. Your buyers are going to do what we call their due diligence online with or without you. So they're listening to blogs, they're reading ebooks, they're perhaps attending webinars, and those might be supplied by your competitors. So they're checking out the content to arm themselves, that's your potential customers that is, with the information to make informed decisions. And this shouldn't sound alien to you, because this is what you do yourself. When you are thinking of hiring a consultant or finding a supplier or even finding a plumber for the first time, now doing due diligence online, punching their name into Google, clicking reviews, clicking feedback, it is so easy. That's great, because if you've got a good reputation online and you have lots of information, lots of content they can find, that's going to put you at the top of the pile. But if you haven't got a lot of information out there, if you haven't got a good online reputation, if you're invisible, it doesn't mean to say you're bad, it just means that your competitors are likely to rank higher. And Forrester research backs all of this up. 65% of deals are awarded to the person or the team that first adds value. That's why one of the tips I'm going to show you how to monitor for job change alerts. So when does a decision maker move from company A to company B, and how that is a great opportunity or a threat, depending on which way you look at it. Why? Because often when somebody moves to a new role in an organization, they have about 90 days to prove themselves. That's been around for a long time. You've come in with a new broom, you've got to sweep clean. So one of the first things you're going to do when you're appointed to a new organization is to challenge existing suppliers, to look at that cost base, see how you can make an immediate impact to justify why it is you were brought into that organization. So if you're the supplier who can help them achieve those goals, if you're contacting them in a timely manner, then you can not only have a client or a customer, but hopefully one for life. So we need to get in front of these people early and influence the way they think. So here's an interesting one. Think about this. If you have a LinkedIn profile, think about when you have visited other people's LinkedIn profiles. When you connect, the first thing they're going to do is check it out. They're going to look at your profile. And here's two common profiles that I typically see. The first one on the left is what we would call the quota crusher, the person that's 130% of their sales plan. He's made president or top salesperson's club in the last 3 years. And their profile says something like, you know, I can sell ice to the Eskimos. You know, I am going to be the top VP of sales in this company. And they have written their profile as if it's a CV, as if it's a resume for getting a job. Now, if you're the buyer that is checking out that person before you have that face-to-face meeting, are you going to want to do business with them? I suggest not, because what their profile is not saying is how they help customers, how they help organizations with their problems to increase their sales or whatever it is that their product or service is. So you definitely don't want to look like the guy on the left there, the quota crusher. But equally, the person on the right, well, he's even more deadly. They don't even have a photo on their profile. They just have a gray shadow, the default little icon there. So without a decent image or a lack of content on their profile, well, you have to ask yourself, would you do business with them? People do business with people, so it's important that during that due diligence process you come out on top. Let's face it, if you met somebody at a party, would you walk up to the person who looked like they could help you or looked like they were interesting to talk to, or would you walk up to the person with a paper bag on their head? Well, the person on the right, the invisible sales rep, he's the one with a paper bag on their head. So, enough of an intro. We're 20 minutes in. That's set the scene. That's told you why this stuff is so important and is becoming even more important, and why it's worth spending a little bit of time and effort getting to grips with how social, not only in a B2B world, but also a B2C world, can make a big difference. So here's the goal for today. I'm going to give you 3 tips to run with straight away. And then I'll tell you a little bit more about how we deliver a 12-week social selling mastery program, so that if you want to go into a little bit more detail or a little bit more depth, you can do that. So tip number 1, master job change alerts. It's the easiest way to get the job done, okay? This is where I want you to learn to overcome some of these issues. Issue 1. If you have a relationship with an organization already, there's a danger that that organization might have a single-threaded relationship with you. What does that mean? I'll give you an example. We built the worldwide curriculum for Oracle. It's one of the best case studies on social selling right now. However, for a long time, we only really had one contact. So single-threaded means you have one relationship in a company. But the average employee changes jobs 11 times in their career. Right now, it's averaging around 3 years a person stays with a company before they move on. So think about some of your existing customers or some of your existing clients or your named accounts, if that's the terminology you use. Think about some of those people and think about the risk if that person leaves, if you are single-threaded. So when you connect with a client or a prospect, and it's best to connect with the top person from the outset. So don't connect with the cleaner, connect with the CEO or the VP of the area that you're looking in. Because once you've connected at that level, when you ask to connect to their peers, guess what? They will not even think about it, because if it's good enough for the CEO or it's good enough for the managing director, they are going to accept your request to connect. So then, rather than being single-threaded, you're multi-threaded. And if that person who you're doing business with leaves, you've got a whole team of people below that who already know who you are, what you do, what a good job you've done with that company, and that protects you internally. So think about that. Don't be single-threaded. Now, LinkedIn gives you 3 saved searches for free. So this is really the first of those tips we're going to start talking about. Here's how we're going to do it. LinkedIn is going to allow you to have those 3 free saved searches. Okay, if you go and buy a premium account, you'll have more, but to start off with, 3 is a great place to start. So everything I'm going to talk about today is free. You don't have to go out and buy licenses for LinkedIn or any of these other tools right now. So let's go through these searches one by one. We're going to talk about advocate marketing, we're going to talk about appointed leaders to your hot accounts, and we're going to talk about being opportunistic. And as Cheryl said at the outset, don't worry about scribbling notes down unless you want to, because this is all being recorded and you can revisit it online, and you can probably get a copy of the slide deck from your IC as well. So let's kick off with advocate marketing. What do we mean by that? Well, what does a salesperson typically tell you? They'll tell you it costs 6 times less to sell to an existing client or customer than it does to sell to a new prospect. And I think, I don't know how many books I've read, and it's somewhere between 6 and 7 times more expensive to recruit a new customer than it is to retain and cross-market to an existing one. So let's not argue about that. That's a fact. So why don't we take our existing client base and figure out if anybody leaves one of our clients who are used to using our solutions, we need to know about it. We need to have that trigger. So here's what you're going to do in real time. Effectively, within advocate marketing, you can go in through the advanced search function on LinkedIn. And that is really easy. You go to your home page, top right, you'll see a little thing that says advanced. You click on that and you go straight into the advanced search function. You can then, within that advanced search, pick out the single thread or the multiple thread of the people who are currently your clients, and you can put them straight into the advanced search box. And where we've got here on the left-hand side under this picture, you'll see it says past, not current. That's the bit here underneath where it says title. You'll see there at the moment the down arrow is selected as current. You'll click on that down arrow and you will select past, not current. What does that mean? Well, it means that the day they update their profile to say that I've left company A and I've moved to company B, their company A status will change to past, not current, because they're no longer there. and by having a saved search on LinkedIn, it will drop an email straight in your inbox the very next day to let you know they've left. And more importantly, when they've updated their profile, that they've gone to company B. So there's two things you can do there. First of all, company A, you want to touch base with all those other people that you're connected with, find out who's going to be their replacement, make sure that you've protected the relationship and that you are not going to lose a client. You may have lost the contact because they've moved to company B, but you shouldn't lose the client. But here's the great opportunity. The person who's now left to go to company B, they've already worked with you. They've already known your products or your services and that you do a good job for them. And they have 90 days to prove themselves in the new company they moved to. So what a fantastic opportunity. That has dropped a hot prospect straight into your inbox through the advanced search on LinkedIn. So that's number one. Number two, appointed leaders. Okay? If you think about the one I've just described, this is the reverse of that. That's where, say you've tried to get into company C, and you have spoken to, for instance, often the people that I do business with are marketing directors, VP sales. What I can do is put a search in LinkedIn and an advanced search and save it, and I can say, okay, I haven't had any joy with that company, but I want to know when the VP sales or the marketing director moves on. So I want it to search on a daily basis, and when somebody new comes to the current position of VP sales or marketing director, I want it to drop an email straight in my inbox and let me know. So company C, I may have tried to get into without any success. All of a sudden I know there's a new guy or a new lady in there, and they've got 90 days to prove themselves. So what a great time not to pick up the phone and cold call them, because that would be horrendous. That would be no better behavior than the ones we've done before, but make contact with them with an offer of help. We recognize that into the new role it might be difficult to share some articles with them. I'll come on to this later a little bit more about the behaviors around this, but what I wanted to show you was how these tools can deliver into your inbox what effectively would be a hot prospects list. So that's appointed leaders, and the last one is about being opportunistic. Now what this is you don't have a target company, you don't have a target person, but maybe you do business within a geography. So for me here in the West Country of the UK, I can do business all over the UK, but practically speaking, most of my clients are within a 50-mile radius of our office here. So what you can do here is put an advanced search into LinkedIn, and once you've created this advanced search, you can say, send me a daily update or a weekly update. It's up to you. You have the power to adjust the settings. But what I can do here is I can simply say, and I can use a Boolean search, i.e. Something that isn't simple, can be complex, that allows me to gather some very useful data. So for example, in the title of the person that I want to do business with, I've already talked about director or VP. So I might say director or VP of finance and marketing, for example. And then I can say within a 50-mile radius of my current postcode or zip code. And what that will do is whenever anybody is newly appointed, I should say, to any company within my geography, within a 50-mile radius, I'm going to get an email straight in my inbox. So I might not even know who these companies are. It'll give me an opportunity to do a bit of due diligence to see whether they fall into the category of the type of business that I can help. And there it is, way to go. So tip number one, using advanced searches, job change alerts. And this is what the output looks like. Effectively, you can either wait for the email to drop, or you can go into your home page on LinkedIn and have a look at the alerts that will be up there. That's this little flag on the right-hand side. If you've got a saved search, you can dive in there anytime. In fact, you can repeat the search anytime. But here's the other thing. Once you've set up an advanced search and saved it, it's not done forever. You can go in and refine it. If it's not giving you the results you want, so for example, if I discover that VP sales and director marketing isn't getting it and I actually want to get in to talk to more CEOs, or maybe it's another role that's been identified, for instance, Chief Digital Officer, CDO. That didn't exist 3 or 4 years ago. It's now coming into the parlance and is being used more and more frequently in job descriptions, so I'll need to adjust my search for that. So hopefully that's given you some real food for thought. That's tip number one. Let's not waste the time because I'm running out of breath here. Let's get into tip number two, how to leverage groups for free, how to start to communicate with people that you're not connected to at first degree level. If you are a LinkedIn user already, you'll be familiar with this terminology. If you're not, let me just explain very quickly. Within LinkedIn, if I am connected to somebody directly, that's called a first degree connection. If they are connected to somebody and I am not connected to them yet, that's called a second degree connection because they are one connection away from me. And the theory is, there was a book some time ago that said everybody in the whole world at 6 degrees of separation is connected through 5 other people. We're told that social media has actually brought that right down to maybe 4 degrees of separation. That in itself is amazing. And when you think that there's over 300 million people now on LinkedIn, that explains how this linkage has really changed. But okay, let's have a look at this tip specifically. When you find someone that you would like to meet and they're on your hot prospect profile, we call them a defined persona. So one of the pieces of work we do with clients when we first sit down with them is to have a look at their business plan, have a look at the clients and the customers that they want to do business with, and we help them clearly identify personas. And often businesses don't just have one persona, they might have 4 or 5 or even more than that. But it's important to understand exactly what they look like, what age are they likely to be, what geography they're going to be in, what seniority level are they going to be in, what size company are we looking at. Because I don't know about you, sat-nav works really well if you put a destination in it. If you jump in your car, turn on the sat-nav and just hope it's going to take you somewhere, it just doesn't work. Well, LinkedIn is exactly the same. It's a fantastic piece of social technology. It really is the best research tool and the best lead generation tool that I know of. However, it doesn't do it on its own. We have to think through, we have to put the destination. And in this context, the destination is the persona of the person. So in this example here, we found this guy, Brendan Cassidy. He matches our persona. They are, or he is, a potential ideal customer. But if we just push out a first degree connection request unsolicited, bluntly, that's not much better than cold calling somebody or sending them a piece of unsolicited email, and therefore is likely to be dealt with in the same manner. So we have to be slightly more sophisticated about that and what we call socially surround that prospect, first of all. So the first thing we'll do is find out what groups they're members of. And you can join up to 50 groups, discussion groups on LinkedIn. So find out which group they're connected with, and that's really, really easy because when you look at their profile on the right-hand side, it will tell you whether you have shared skills and experience in shared groups. And if you haven't got a shared group, you just scroll down to the bottom of their profile and see what groups they're members of, and you will temporarily join one of those groups. So once you've joined that group, and this particular group, which is called On Startups, has 383,000 members, or it did when we took this screenshot. Once you've joined that group, you can go straight into the member area, search for Brendan Cassidy, and guess what? His name will pop up, and right alongside that will be a little box that says Send Message. And you can go in there and you can send a message to Brendan. Okay, let me just clarify what we're doing here. Typically, on LinkedIn or anywhere else, you can't send a message to somebody unless you're connected at first degree level. But if you just send a connect request out, 1, you're limited to the amount of text you can put in there, and 2, it kind of feels a bit salesy. So here you need to develop a strategy that shares some useful content with them. And even before you send this message, I would suggest that through the discussion groups, you'll probably join in on a discussion that Brendan's been doing. You might even comment on it. You might even say, that was a great point you made there, Brendan, let me build on that. So that he or she becomes aware of who you are, what you do, what your organization is, starts to get a feel for your reputation and your personality, so that when you do make a connection in this way by sending a message, they will probably invite you to become a first degree connection of them. So sending messages for free directly is an incredible tip. And here's a tip within a tip, if you like. If you haven't used this already, and I was doing a workshop last week 45 people in the room. Many of them were experienced business people. We even had, it was being held at HSBC, the bank. We had some people in there from the bank. And I was astonished that none of them had actually discovered this. It's one of the most powerful bits within LinkedIn. So if you haven't discovered it yet, go and check it out immediately afterwards. Immediately under a person's profile picture, you'll see a little thing, a little star there next to it. And if it's grayed out, if you just click on it, these two boxes pop up, relationship and contact information. The bit on the left-hand side, relationship, allows you to put a whole load of information in there. And just to be clear, when you're putting information in there, it's for your eyes only. Nobody else can see that. Nobody in the world, not even, in this case, Kelly. She can't see it. So it's like having a mini CRM system. When you are signed into LinkedIn, the information that you've put in previously assigned to, in this case, Kelly's profile, only you can see. So it's fantastic. You know, CRM systems, there's some cheap ones out there, there's some very expensive ones. This one's free. It's there straight in your LinkedIn profile. So let me just talk you through it quickly. The first thing, left-hand side, a note. If you've met Kelly at a networking event, you can quickly put in, you know, how you met, why, and on the right-hand side you can see the how you met tag. You can actually be specific. So if you've connected with them through LinkedIn in the past, why did you do that? Second one along, reminder. This is where you can give yourself a automated reminder, perhaps a day away, a week away, a month away, or a recurring reminder. And by putting it in there, LinkedIn will send you an email on a daily basis. It will also appear on your profile to flag it up. And if you use the mobile app for LinkedIn, and I would suggest you do, it's all part of your diary system within there. Last bit on that, tag. You see there the word tag. Think about that as, I guess, segmentation. That allows you to put some form of segmentation in there that helps you sift through. So, for example, you might have a segment that's called hot prospects. You might have another segment that's called attended one of our seminars. You might have another segment that's called future potential client for product X. Now, again, only you can see that, but it's brilliant. Don't worry about things like location segments for that, because they have segmented themselves through the advanced search. You can already scrutinize the whole of the database through LinkedIn to find out what company they work for, what geography they're in, the size of the company, the industry they're in. All of that, if you look at the advanced search, is already segmented. So you don't need to create tags for those. Where you're able to use tags very effectively is to segment people by the type of connection or contact you want to make with them in the future. So let me give you one example. I ran that seminar last week. I just talked about it. It was at HSBC. It's the second seminar I've run for them this month. So I have created a tag that's got HSBC2, and I've just tagged everybody who was on that. So if we have a follow-up seminar later on, I can go back into the advanced search and I can simply say, filter my connections by HSBC2, and bosh, all 40 names will appear in front of me, allowing me to communicate with them, knowing full well that they've already experienced something and are likely to be interested in coming back to the future. And here's a little bit of that screenshot that shows you that within your connections, that's where you can filter them. You can filter them by a whole bunch of things, but one of the things that you can filter them by is the tag. Okay, tip number three. Tip number three, this is called sphere of influence selling, or social leverage. If there's one session that you're going to want to rinse and repeat if you were going to go through the full program, it's this one. The reason I say that is, of the thousands of sales reps we've trained, 50% of every net new meeting ever booked has come from this particular section within our social selling training. And we talk about, within our curriculum, how we can crowdsource and update the information that is most useful here. So let me give you an example. Vision Critical. Vision Critical is a company that was a client of ours, or still is a client of ours for that matter. And what we found was that the people who were really interested in what we had to say were these groups. So the groups of people within their sphere of influence. So past employees, we've already talked about that. People who have moved from company A to company B. Well, if they've moved to company C, D, E, and F, which is quite likely over time, and they have moved into positions of either influence or even a buyer role, then if you connect with them, or reconnect with them I should say, because through LinkedIn you will have connected with them when they worked for Vision Critical, then they are going to be white knights for you. They're going to be exemplars for what it is that you do. Sorry, that was past employees. Current employees, obviously. Competitors. Now that's interesting. If you deliver a solution into one bank, just go back to that example, it's amazing how the other banks start to look over the garden fence and say, well, what is it those guys are doing over there? That seems to be a little bit different. Maybe we should be doing some of that. So often competitors are a good source of marketing through this sphere of influence. People selling into the same market or who are influencing through the same buyer persona. So let me give you an example there. We work with a couple of companies, ProActions being one of them, who are involved in giving coaching to companies that want to achieve high growth. And the definition for high growth currently in the UK economy is anybody that's looking to grow by more than 20% per annum compound. So those coaches are getting in front of those types of companies. Now those are the types of companies that I want to work with. So in terms of Vision Critical, my job is to work with the business coaches that are working with Vision Critical because they know the story, they know success, and they are dealing with potential customers or potential clients of Vision Critical as well. And the last group that are clearly interested in what Vision Critical have on the horizon in terms of their success are vendors, partners, clients, because their success is critical to them, and therefore if we have a case study that shows how we have helped Vision Critical, guess what? Those vendors, those partners, and those clients are going to be interested in hearing more about that story and potentially being clients about it. So here's a little tip, a tip within a tip. Decision makers, influencers, they're busy people, just like you and I, and often Sunday night is a quiet time when the decision maker really starts to do their due diligence. They're getting themselves ready for the next week. So if you're talking about the best results for sending out updates, whether that's through LinkedIn or Twitter or posting blogs, we find the best engagement with the right decision makers is Sunday evening. Not Monday morning, that's for sure, Sunday evening. So that doesn't mean to say you have to work Sunday afternoon, but if you're going to schedule posts, you're going to schedule updates, think about doing that on a Sunday afternoon. Bonus tip number 4, social leverage. So that's sharing content through the buyer's journey. So first of all, you need to think of yourself as a brand. So on LinkedIn, make sure that your profile portrays exactly what it is you would like to think your potential customers want to see. So make sure, remember I said earlier on, people buy from people, and people like to buy from people just like themselves. So what you need to do is make sure that your personal profile reflects the problems and the issues that they are likely to face, so that you can be seen as the potential solution to some of their problems. So when we're talking about social leverage, what we're talking about there is through the dead zone, making sure that you're sharing useful content. So your customers, they're going to want to help the navigation through what could be a complex sales process. So if you haven't done this already, then sharing content has become a lot easier over the last 2 or 3 years. And what I mean by content, that might be an article, it might be a blog post, it might be something that you pick up yourself through LinkedIn. And what happens is, when you click on a link that you may have seen on a tweet or an update, it'll take you through to the original article. And on that article, on the left-hand side or sometimes on the right-hand side, there will be share buttons. And if you click on the LinkedIn share button, this is what you see. It's really simple, really is simple. and you can share that content in a variety of ways. Now, word of caution here, you don't want to blast stuff out willy-nilly. You don't want to spam people. So think carefully about the strategy of doing this. But here's the 3 ways you can do it. First of all, the top one says post to your first-degree connections. So when you put a post in there, and if you have your Twitter account connected to your LinkedIn account, you can simply check that box and it will send a tweet as well. That will appear and be sent to all of your first-degree connections. Now, it's not going to arrive as an email in their inbox and annoy them. What it will do is appear on their news feed on their homepage. So there's a chance they will see it. It's not a 100% chance, and that's probably just as well, because if it's sharing information that might be of interest, that's the way to do that. Second one is you can share up to 50 groups. So when you post something there, it encourages you to put a subject and some detail. You're effectively creating a discussion within that group. So you have to think about that carefully. It must feel like a discussion. So it's not a statement. It's not saying, hey, take a look at this. You have to add a bit more value around that. You have to position it, perhaps share your opinion and pose a question. Start it as a discussion. So again, I would never say post up to 50 groups. Select carefully the 3 or 4 groups that it might be relevant to, because if you blast it out to 50, LinkedIn might treat you as a spammer. But the thing that I think that has most value is this one at the bottom, send to individuals. And as the name suggests, don't blast it to 50 people at the same time, because that's not individual. You are blasting it out. So when you talked about earlier on somebody being in the dead zone, so you may have a proposal out there, or you may have done a demo, and you're waiting for them to come back and say yes or no. Well, this is the area where you can share some useful content through that dead zone so that you're seen as an influencer, not a pest. So personalize the message. I read this article, and when we had those discussions, you pointed out that you had an issue on recruitment, for example. You may find this article extremely helpful. I've just read it about crowdsourced recruitment. So it may be nothing to do with the product or the service that you're supplying. In fact, it's probably better if it doesn't, because what you are demonstrating is that you are aware of the challenges they have, and you're there to help them. You're the trusted advisor. So you're not trying to flog them a product at that point or even nudge them to say, give us an answer. You're just being a trusted advisor. So, in summary, through the dead zone, the old school seller used to call, email, certainly would be a pest. The social seller, through that dead zone, shares content and posts conversations to continue to help the buyer along their buying journey. So, okay, I seem to have lost a slide somewhere along the line, but anyway, okay, so that's where we're up to in terms of the 3 immediate implementable hints and tips: sharing content, looking at the saved searches, and having a look at the sphere of influence. So if what you've heard so far has whetted your appetite and you go, okay, I want to learn more about this stuff, particularly if I'm in the business-to-business world, that's been the major focus for today, but we have similar programs in terms of providing support if you're in a business-to-consumer world. So as I said, hopefully you haven't gone to sleep through this. Hopefully this has given you some insights into the way you can do this. Let me tell you a little bit about the Social Selling Mastery Certification Program. I do wish we'd come out with a snappier title, but it does what it says on the tin. How does that work? Well, we have a mixture of support. On the left-hand side, we start off with Instructor Led Training, and I'll come back to what that means in a second, but ostensibly it's delivered through webinars just like the one you're in today. And then there is e-learning support. So what does that look like? What does that look like? We have the 12-week program that takes you through how to become an active social seller, and then through that process we can give you, sorry about that, I've got to remind me up. That's the trouble with pop-ups, isn't it? So we have e-learning support. What I should say, there's a learning management system where each week we have pre-recorded videos that demonstrate exactly what it is you could and should do. We just skip forward a couple. Yeah. I apologize there. I have lost a couple of slides. That's my fault. Let's get to the end there. I'm not quite sure what happened there. Yeah, I'm not quite sure why that slide was not showing up, but here it is. This is what I was trying to show you, the 12 weeks. The 12 weeks course kicks off with helping you build a buyer-centric profile, as we described earlier on, making sure that your LinkedIn profile is pucker. Week 2, we help you map out your buyer personas. Easier said than done, but I think a very, very worthwhile exercise, because then you can be extremely focused. Your sat-nav has the destination. Then we talk to you about how to find content that intrigues your buyer. So that's building the reputation so that when you start to share it in week 4, it starts to push the buyer, your potential customer, off their status quo and starts to make them think that maybe, just maybe, if they have a need in the area where you can provide support and service, that you're the right company to do business with. Then we talk about the campaigning side of it. How do you find those potential buyers and start connecting with them in a meaningful way? Then we talk about trigger event selling, and I gave you 3 triggers earlier on, just 3. Those were around advocate marketing and being opportunistic and people moving from company A to company B. Week 7 is all about sphere of influence selling, because you may have remembered earlier on I said that this was probably where 50% of new business comes from, the salespeople who've gone through the social selling program. Then round about week 8, now you're starting to become really proficient at this stuff. We hone in on how can you turn this into a 30 to 60 minutes per day activity that drives real business. And this is substitutional. You don't have to find an extra 5 hours a week, because what you'll find is that the sales that you're generating through doing this replace some activity that you may have been engaged in before that actually doesn't deliver the results you're looking for. So you get rid of that, you do less of that, and you do more of this. And then now you are starting to get proficient. You're probably asking, well, are there tools out there that can help me do this better, faster, more efficiently? Well, yes, there are. Hootsuite, for example, if you haven't heard about it, fantastic piece of social management software that not only helps you manage the process, it helps you with your research, it also helps you with the measurement of success. So we take you through in detail how to use that for collecting, sharing content, and also week 10, what we call social listening. So that's listening out for what's happening in your clients and your prospective clients. Week 11, we use mobile applications, not only just LinkedIn, but other tools like Pocket, and we show you how you can use these to become even more effective at what you do. And then finally, week 12, it's all very well and good focusing entirely on your customers, but sometimes we need to look up and have a look out and see what else is happening, and we show you how to use these same tools to gather and spy, for want of a better word, on your competitors, so that you have plenty of competitor intelligence that helps you be more efficient. So that's the 12-week program. Each week we go through one module. It's run through one of these 60-minute video conferences with a live instructor, and within 3 months you then become certified as a social salesperson, and you also have access to the online learning management system, which is effectively a university online with all the materials in, how-to guides, and that lasts for a whole 12 months. So the first 12 weeks, the first 90 days really starts to embed the behaviors, and then if you want to revisit those materials, because let's face it, LinkedIn and social are changing all the time, so we're constantly updating the materials. So we wrote the book on this stuff, as Cheryl said at the outset. 12 things every business needs to know about digital marketing, including social selling. If you look at that link there, which is digital marketing, in fact, if you just Google Digital Minds 12 Things, I guarantee that the first result on Google will be that book on Amazon, and you'll be able to find it. So I think that's pretty much where we were up to. Yes, questions and answers. Hopefully, Cheryl, you're still there and can tell me if there's any questions I should be dealing with.
Yep, there are. We have a couple minutes to go through a couple of them. So they're kind of moving back to a couple of your initial slides. Caddy had a question on specifically, where do you save the search and set the daily notifications in LinkedIn?
Okay. What I'll probably do is I'll just dive into LinkedIn if that's easier. Can you see this on the screen? Just checking.
Yep, we can see it.
Okay. So if I go to my profile, up here you'll see advanced. I've clicked on advanced, and once I've gone there, see on the right hand side here, I don't know if there's any latency. Can you see that? There's a thing that says saved search.
Yeah, we see it.
So if I click on that, here's all my saved searches, and this is where you can say, do I want it to be repeat it daily, weekly, monthly, or never. If you say never, it's a saved search that produces one result, and then you can revisit and ask it to repeat itself. So hopefully that's answered that question.
Yeah, great. Just a question on the type of LinkedIn account you would need to have, because obviously there's a free version and there's a premium version. What's your recommendation on that?
Well, my recommendation is you always start off with a free one, because then when you work out where there are some things you would like to do more quickly or more efficiently, you can then work out for yourself how much time it's going to save you and whether the premium is worth it. And I think it's about week 8 where most people who are through the training, they go and buy at least the first version up, because they work it out. A cup of coffee a day, yeah, a cup of coffee a day is the equivalent of, I think, the lowest LinkedIn premium account. And what people are finding, if you're a salesperson, if you could increase your sales by 20%, you'd willingly either pay for an extra coffee a day or give one up. So my recommendation would be do the free one first. Then when you start to find that there are things that are grayed out that you would really like to do, so for example in the advanced search, you'll find that some of the things, some of the segments you'd like to be able to get at, like filter out for Fortune 500 companies, aren't available on the free one. You might spend a few dollars and find out. But here's a little hint and tip. When you click the button that says upgrade, don't pay straight away, sit there. Just sit there for a couple of minutes. What often you'll find that happens is that a chat box will pop up and somebody will say, hey, can I help you? Is there anything I can help you with? And if you say, yeah, well, I'm thinking about taking out this version, but I'm not quite sure, often they will offer you a 3-month trial. Take it. And if you ever get an email in your inbox offering you a 3-month trial, take it, and then you'll be able to work out whether it's worth paying for.
Great. Maybe one or two more questions. I know that you obviously talked a lot about LinkedIn. There's some questions on just what other social sites would people concentrate their efforts on the social relationship and social selling standpoint?
Yeah, good point. Typically, if you are a B2C, business to consumer, then often Facebook would be the primary one. Twitter is equally good for B2C or B2B. Certain sectors that have, say, visually attractive products, obviously things like Pinterest are starting to gain some real momentum. Some people are focusing more on Google+. Now, I think Google+ has probably got more leverage in the B2B world right now, simply because the use of its circles and its social engagement technology is probably superior to anything, even superior to LinkedIn, believe it or not. But I think the reason why LinkedIn is #1 for B2B at the moment is simply it has got 300 million active members, whilst Google Plus is relatively new on the block. But the one advantage I would say about Google Plus, and if you are a business with a physical premises, definitely worth looking at, is if you have a physical premises, not only can you have a page that's called a Business Plus Local Business that has details of your location that automatically feeds into Google Maps so that people on a mobile device will find you very quickly, mobile device, sorry. In addition, the feedback, the 5-star rating aspect of Google Plus, that is fantastic. More and more people are getting Gmail accounts because they have to have them if they've got a YouTube account, they have to have them if they've got Google Analytics. Then if they leave feedback, that 5-star rating can show up on the Google search results right on the home page. So a long answer to a short question, there are many social media that are applicable depending on your business or whether you're a not-for-profit, but I would suggest talk to your local consultant, find out a little bit more from them which is right for you, and they can help you navigate this, because yeah, there's only so many hours in the day. You can't possibly use all the social media all the time. So you need to prioritize which of the 2 or 3 max that are going to get you the best results.
Great. Okay, I know we're at the top of the hour, so if there were any questions we didn't get to, please do reach out to your WSI consultant. Rob, maybe just move ahead to that last slide, just so I can close out the webinar. Great. And if, again, as you know, the webinar is being recorded. These recordings are made available to our consultants to then share with you guys who attended, so stay tuned for that. You will be sent the recording. So a big thank you for everyone who attended to learn more about social relationship management and specifically how you can do that via social selling. I'd like to do a big thank you to Rob Thomas for taking the time to present. I know he's been really busy with a whole bunch of other presentations and some ones leading up, so thanks for squeezing this into your schedule, Rob.
Pleasure.
Please let us know how you liked the webinar. We do have a survey. There's links on the screen, but you will also be sent this via as a follow-up email from the consultant that referred you. Do check out our wsiworld.com site. We've got some great resources and blog posts on social relationship management, including infographics and the marketing guide as well. So check all that out. And again, any questions you have, your WSI consultant can definitely answer those for you. And thank you for attending, and I hope to see you on a future WSI Digital Power Hour webinar. So I hope everyone has a great day. Thank you.
Thanks, Cheryl.
Bye.